Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing, and today we've got a very interesting combination with a little bit older school of a slug, and I'm definitely curious to see how it performs since I have seen a lot of people use these slugs over my lifetime anyway. I don't think they still make this particular version of them, but I know they were very popular for a good long period of time, so we'll see what they can do through my setup I've got today. But as for the shells we've got, I managed to find some of these in the local small town shop bargain bin where they take a bunch of stuff in for store credit and stuff like that. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of writing on the box and I don't have very many of these to work with, but they are some Federal Classic slugs. They are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 1 ounce slug, and there is no box claimed velocity anywhere on here, but I would imagine it's probably somewhere between 15 and 1750 or so. Generally 1550, 1600, somewhere right in there for a 2 3/4 1 ounce is pretty average. But I don't think Federal makes the classic slug lineup anymore. It probably just got turned more into maybe a Power Shock or something like that, or this line got completely deleted. I don't know. There's nothing special or fancy about them necessarily, but I think these are probably 90s era-ish, maybe early 2000s. So it's definitely going to be pretty interesting to see what these might actually be able to do. But here's what one of those slugs looks like. You can see the typical tiny little hollow point-ish looking rifled slug. Nothing fancy going on. It does say Federal Hi-Shok on the shells, so that might be a little more of an official name, but it's still just old school 90s, 2000s type of Federal slugs. Nothing fancy going on. As for the setup we're going to run them through, I brought out my Remington 870. This is your very much standard basic Remington 870. It's got a 24-inch completely smooth bore barrel on it. We're going to be running a stock improved cylinder for a choke, which is what a lot of rifled slugs suggest. Up on top, I've got a Hawk Vantage IR with the slug gun muzzleloader type reticle in it. It's a 3 to 9 by 40. Definitely a pretty nice scope for the $200 that it costs, that's for sure. As for our barrel tension, because we have a receiver mounted scope, everything is still held together with the magazine cap. It's not a pinned barrel or anything like that. So I took this cap to hand tight and then 3 extra clicks and scored witness marks on it and stuff so we can see if the barrel tension itself changes, because that will affect our accuracy. So far in all of our testing, this entire combo has been perfect, nothing to be concerned with, but I figured I'd at least mention it for the people that are going to be curious about it. So classic 870, we'll see how these old school Federals might actually be able to do through it. As for today's test, like I already mentioned, I don't have very many of these slugs to work with. It's kind of got to be this one test and that's it. So we're going to shoot 2 groups, one at 50 yards and another at 100 yards. All of the shots will be through the chrono as well. It's obviously not the perfect test, but it'll at least give us an idea on what this combo might be able to do for accuracy's sake. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. We'll start at 50 yards, we'll shoot our groups, and see what the old Federal Classic Hi-Shok slugs might actually be capable of. Alright, so let's look through our velocities real quick. Again, no claim on the box, but I believe we were getting low to mid 1500s on average here, and that's about what I expected to see. But our high was 1532, the low was 1494. That gave us an average of 1510. With an extreme spread of 38 and a standard deviation of 11. So they were pretty consistently loaded for velocities, especially for just a off-the-shelf mass production type of slug like that. So that's always nice to see. But at an average of 1510, here are your muzzle energies for a 1 ounce slug. Obviously that is plenty good enough for your average deer hunt type of scenario any day of the week. So looking good here from our 24-inch barrel. That's going to get the job done for sure. But how accurate were they? Let's go check out our targets, because I think we got some pretty nice looking results over there. All right, so here's our target, and I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing here. It looks like those old Federal Hi-Shok classic slugs were actually probably some pretty decent performers. This is easily the best just standard lead rifled Foster style slug that we've tested through that smoothbore 870. It's definitely the most consistent, and it's plenty capable to 100 yards, that's for sure. But we'll start on the left with our 50-yard group. This one over here on the left was our first shot, and we had the second two pretty much in the same hole right here. Just created one big oblong hole in the target. So maybe a little bit of a cold bore shot. That was not a perfectly clean bore or anything like that to start with. It had probably, I don't know, 50 rounds through it already, but that's pretty interesting to see. Overall, that's not anything, spectacular for 50 yards, but after that first initial shot, we were putting them in the same hole. So at 50, the overall spread is 2.66 inches. If you want to include that first cold bore shot or whatever the case was there, I felt good about every trigger pull, so I don't think it was me. But moving over here to the right with our 100-yard group, it's pretty much the exact same story. First shot was a little touch low. The second two were in the same hole yet again. But still, at 100 yards, if we're holding this group right here, even if we didn't have two in the same exact hole and we had one just spread out a little bit either direction, that right there is still a great group for a rifled slug at 100 yards. And to the best of my measurements, it's 2.29 inches, and that is from center of the bottom hole to center-ish of the topmost kind of sort of hole you can see right here. You can barely make out two different bullet holes, but they're both there. So right about 2.3 at 100 yards, there's not going to ever be a deer that walks through that. If you pull the trigger and put the slug where it needs to be, it's going to do the job. So that, yet again, probably tells us that that very first shot over on the left was potentially a cold bore or something along that line. I did let the gun cool down, obviously, for 5 or 6 minutes while I moved our target out to 100, so that could have even been a factor out at 100, stringing that first one down just a touch lower than the other two, because everything else was in the exact same hole. So I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing there. Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of these slugs, so maybe I need to try and track some more of them down, because clearly I think that 870 likes them quite a bit actually. And I actually do have these same slugs in a 1¼ ounce as well, so I'm curious to see when we test those if it's going to be the same results or if it likes them more or less. Either way, I was hoping to see some decent results today, but I don't think we can argue about that one bit at all. Even if you include the cold bore shots, it's still going to hold a pretty nice group out to 100 yards it seems. So old school Federal Classic Hi-Shok slugs, I think it's a pretty decent win for us here today. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that result right there? I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing. For a standard smoothbore slug gun like that, with a 90s, maybe early 2000s, 25-year-old at least, basic slug loading, you can't argue with that too much. And I don't think I already mentioned it, and I don't even know if the camera was able to pick it up or not, but I found it pretty funny that as I was taking these shots, you could actually hear, sitting behind the bench here, the slugs beating the air into submission on their way down there. A 12-gauge slug is not very good at ballistics in the first place, but these ones in particular, I mean, it sounded like you were taking a pretty beefy stick and swatting it through the air as hard as you could. It was pretty funny to hear, and I don't think I've ever heard a slug like that go through the air. Either way, with that kind of a result, you can't complain. It's a basic 870 smoothbore with an improved cylinder choke, nothing special, nothing fancy, and judging by that kind of result, I don't really know why Federal got rid of the classic Hi-Shok slugs. They seem to be some pretty decent performers so far, from this test anyway. So I'm curious if when they got rid of them, did they actually get rid of them, or did they kind of convert them over into a slightly different slug in their lineup? Maybe that turned into PowerShok, but I thought PowerShok was older than what these classic slugs actually were. Or maybe they turned them into something else for a little while. I don't know. If you know more about that, then by all means let me know, and if there is a modern variant of them, maybe we can try them and see what they can do. I do have some modern Federal PowerShoks we're going to test as well, so hopefully they can give us the same sort of results. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you ever tested or used any of these Federal Classic Hi-Shok slugs? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is that a combo you would take out on a 100-yard deer hunt? Or would you still want to limit your range a little bit? Or would you feel confident pushing it a little bit past 100 yards if you're seeing that kind of accuracy out of it? And what other slugs might you want to see us run through this smoothbore 870? I've got a variety of them that we're going to be testing, so keep an eye out for that because we've got plenty more to come. But leave all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.